There were times in this last KvK where we were stretched a little bit thin, and in this video, I want to show you the time where I lost over 7 million power from my farm defending against just one double rally in this KvK that we battled in. And this was actually really fun and unexpected. I did not expect that this double rally was going to last as long as it did. This happened right before I fired up a stream. If I had known that this is going to be what it became, I definitely would have just started the stream sooner and really ran with it. So in this instance, I've got my power showing in the upper left. I've zoomed the shot in so you can see a little bit more of the action full screen. And I am just spam filling this flag. I'm sending infantry as the obvious priority. And then even though I've got a 50% expansion and I've got just under 2 million infantry at the start of this, that number is going to drop off really, really fast, and I need to start to fill with other things. Now, I do put siege in there just to get rid of them. I want to get rid of my siege, and my intention with this account is to basically do what you see in this video 3 times. Once with infantry until I'm out of infantry, once with cavalry until I'm out of cavalry, and once in an archer garrison until I'm out of archers. And the ability to simply spam fill a flag with like 2 to 3 million of each troop type is a pretty freaking big deal. I mean, it's actually very powerful. Even though they're T4s, I simply don't have the gold on a farm to make those T5s. I have the speed ups, and I would be fine with it. If I had the gold, I would do it, but I don't. And so T4s make sense here. Even just repairing T5s would actually be really expensive to heal those from the hospital if I was doing that in this situation, especially because I do make one really big mistake here, which is that the flag is in Wolf, okay? That's a Wolf flag. And I am in the Wolf Alliance, which means I get hit with AoE when AoE happens. And there shouldn't be that much of it, but when this flag gets swarmed, which does happen later in this video, I'm getting hit with a lot of AoE on my way into the flag. Now, I am planted really close to the flag, and this is important to discuss. I'm not so close that the march walks in a really weird way to enter into the flag. I'm just far enough that the march walks pretty cleanly from my city into the flag. And you may think, well, just cool, if you're worried about AoE, why don't you just switch tags? And I can't switch tags in the middle of all this because now I have 3 million troops loaded into my city from people who are reinforcing into the flag. So I don't want to kick them out of my city by virtue of switching tags here. Now, I do have the extra crystal technology on my farm to enhance my reinforcement capacity. Everybody should really pick this up if you plan to teleport anywhere near a flag. And even for a farm that isn't fighting, if you are going to fill a flag like this, it's pretty low in the crystal technology order to even be able to get the extra reinforcement capacity. It's very easy to get, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so here I am, spam filling this flag. And one thing that I notice as I'm doing this is I haven't made my presets yet for the combos that I would use to do this, which is a pretty big mistake. You really want mobility commanders to run in there really, really quickly. Hasty departure talents, absolutely crucial for just making it very difficult for the enemy to snipe you or get hit by AoE on your way into the flag. And the reason that we're able to defend against this double rally for as long as we do, which we really shouldn't be able to defend against a double rally like this, especially when they start swarming, is that they are using really, really low damage rallies. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better set of rallies for us to defend against here, because we're talking about Pakal Herald, which is really low damage, and we're looking at an Attila Nevsky, which is really low damage. Both of these, I say plainly, are just bad rallies. Like, I don't think they're good rallies in an Imperium KvK in 2022. I'm not saying they don't serve a purpose. They're using these because they have to. We've got War Daddy Chad and others swarming every single rally that they try to launch that is swarmable. Heck, even these rallies, they're trying to swarm down and knock them off the flag. So we've forced the enemy into using bad rallies, which is really important to understand, which makes a double rally much more defensible in this situation. And the defense here, by the way, is a Xeno YSS. YSS because you can put any troop type in there. And honestly, at this moment in the KvK, you're thinking, wow, like 254 looks kind of outnumbered. And in this part of the battlefield, we were, man. I mean, we were fighting a lot of kingdoms on a lot of fronts. And there was only room for about 20 cities on Wolf territory by this flag. Like, there were not a lot of cities nearby. It was other territory from other alliances nearby that you had to move through, or be on in order to actually reinforce to this point. And this is really the danger of not having field. In 2022, with the new crystal technology, especially the new swarm technology, is that you can get into huge trouble. Now, I am just so concerned about the way that collision and the whole heroic power-up Anthem KvK collision blockade thing is going to work if they put that everywhere. Because this is a cool moment. We're defending a flag. It's painful. We're punished for not having field. But we can still defend. Like, it's cool. This is not even an experience that happens in a new world in which blockades are everywhere, which I hope doesn't happen, because you can't defend this flag if the enemy can blockade you. You can't reinforce it. Like, it's GG's. The flag just burns. So I have a lot of concern about the sort of blockade mechanic going everywhere, and this is like the perfect illustration of why. The enemy has field. They should be able to clap us. We're actually doing a really good job defending against it, and this was a fun experience, hopefully for them, because it was fun for me. And I dropped so much power on my farm, which actually was a concern of mine. Because, you know, look, I trained my farm into Imperium Burden. Okay, that's top 300 by power. Because I thought we were going to have so much fighting that my farm was going to be fully zeroed this KvK. I'm actually astonished that we won this KvK without even having to heavily lean on farms. But we had a lot of, a truly shocking amount of gas left in the tank at the end of this KvK. So I overestimated what I was going to need. Anyways, I'm killing off troops pretty darn quickly here. And somewhere in the middle of this, I will notice, like, God, these combos that I have are just so bad. And I did flip over to a series of presets that I've used to fill before. And, like, what do you want in a filling commander combo? Obviously, I mentioned mobility talents earlier. The other thing that's really valuable is troop capacity. So Julius Caesar, unfortunately, his main role in this game is for stuffing flags. Freddy, Hannibal Barca. I mean, these are commanders that extra troop capacity. You can use them as a secondary so that you have your mobility primary, and then you can spam fill flags with extra troops. I think there's value to that. And I think at some point, I should have resigned myself, by the way, to filling more with just the wrong troop type, and that's fine, right? It's a Xeno YSS. It's not great, but it's fine. And in my head, I really did think that we would be needing to do this on many more occasions. And so I'd fill a Jad flag somewhere else with the cavalry, that I'd fill an Amani art flag at some point, maybe in a fort is more likely. But that's actually not something that happened in this KvK. So given now that we know I didn't actually need to hold back for a future moment, I probably should have just been spam filling absolute max capacity of troops at every moment and just hard filled this flag. I would have lost even more power, and as it turns out, that would have been fine to be sending suboptimal troop types and to just move all in like that. But as it stands, you can see I'm already getting low on infantry, and there's sort of two problems here. One is that a lot of troops are tied up in just being, like, slightly wounded. They're in the flag. They're not dead. They're not in my hospital. They're just tied up in the flag as, like, troops that aren't going to actually come back into the fight until they come back to my city. And then I can send them back out again. So at some point, I actually need to start bringing home multiple marches, even though they've still got like 30K left in them, because then I can get the full amount of troops back to shove those into the flag. Okay. And the other thing is that I do need to heal my hospital pretty frequently throughout this, because I need to get troops back, out of my hospital and into the queue to actually be available to drop them into this flag. So this double rally, I mean, what would I do differently here? The enemy, I think, needs to be using some higher damage rallies. I think that if you had Henry Nebu, it's sort of swarmable, but it's like actual respectable damage and respectable anti-swarm. I think that's probably a better place to be. And the fact that they have no Gilgamesh, like, I mean, a Henry Gilgamesh would be really good to counter the Xeno. And I think you'll be surprised when we look at the reports just how, I guess we'll say even. I will have to look at them and look at the power trade to see how they went. But obviously, I'm stuffing a lot of T4 in here. The enemy is using a lot of T5 in these rallies. And you may be a little surprised to hear me say that Pakal Herald is not a good rally. I've been saying this for a while, but the problem is just the damage is way, way, way too low. So they're really just letting us kill off their troops right now. I think they expect this trade is going to go better for them than it does. They're just letting us kill off their troops because they've got these 2 low damage rallies. And if they just sat a swarm on this thing, like they'd get a burn and everybody would just kind of move on. Now here, you can see the flag gets low and I can start to put big marches in there. Yeah, I jam a few marches in there to top this thing off really quickly. When the garrison dips, and there are going to be some dips down to like 300,000 troops, it's pretty freaking scary. And there's definitely a rotation of captains going on throughout this. So there's not just one captain the entire time. There are multiple people that are in voice that are available to swap in their captain. And now there is one person that you want to have primarily be the captain. Whoever has the most stats at that moment in time, like that's what you want for your captain. But otherwise, yeah, this is one of those moments. There we go. I just start putting whatever in. Yep, there it is. I think in voice I was chatting and I was like, guys, at this point, do I just like stuff whatever in there? And they're like, yeah, just whatever. Whatever's good. We just need to fill it up. I'm like, all right. So siege go in there as well. I do really want to kill off the siege. I think I had almost 1 million siege on this account. Maybe it was like 800,000. Like it was kind of a dumb amount of siege. Now, during a double rally is really not the best time to be putting siege into a flag, but at the same time, I do need to get rid of them. I am stuffing those troops in there. So fine. It is what it is. And the problem with filling with 5 marches like I had just a second ago is you really want to have like 1 march of flex at all moments, ideally, in this situation. What do I mean by that? It's very problematic if I can't, in an instant, drop a march into a flag to bump it back to a better level of troops, right? So if I have to wait for the march to walk home and then resend it, I know that's not long, but that can be extremely problematic. So what I'm trying to do is fill a bunch and top off with the small amount of infantry I have. The downside of doing that is I do need to keep bringing the troops home when they're down to like 10k or so, as you see me doing, so that I have a march free to actually send more in. I don't think I could actually, on my farm, reasonably get to a 6th march. That feels pretty unreasonable to me with regard to my crystal technology. But it would have actually been handy to have, weirdly enough, for just spam filling a flag, which I suppose makes sense. So now I'm down to 69 million power. I started around 73, 74 million power. I mean, I can't remember how far into this I actually started recording. But anyways, here we are dropping troops in. This has already lasted way longer than I thought it would. I thought I would just help defend against a quick rally, and then I would fire up my stream, and that's just like not at all what this turned into. So here we are. And we're at the point where there are moments where this thing dips really, really low. And now I like just really need to start to spam fill in a minute here. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the entirety of this exchange. I think there are things I could have done better. And I am happy I popped that 50% expansion. I think if I focused my crystal technology a little bit more on this account on troop capacity, I could have had like slightly bigger marches. But otherwise, I mean, this was fun. I mean, this is honestly very fun. There were very few dull moments in this KvK. And you've heard me probably say on stream before that a KvK like this is just so much different than a KvK on my restart, for example. Because sure, there are moments on my restart account where you could lose a lot of troops really quickly. But there are a lot of moments in a big Imperium KvK where you can lose a lot of troops really fast. And this was one of those moments, which is why I really kind of wanted to make this video. And this, by the way, is the point where we really start to struggle with this garrison. I'm getting really low on infantry. I'm almost out of infantry. I've killed almost all my infantry at this point. And, oh, look, we got a counter rally running. If I saw that correctly, they put a counter on our counter. Did I see that correctly? Anyways, yeah, there's the counter. It's a Pakal Herald. Yeah, I mean, that Pakal Herald is like an appropriate counter rally for us in this instance, even though obviously I dislike how low the DPS is, because we just can't launch an actual rally. like there's no shot that a high DPS rally lives. And there's a part of me that, in hindsight, I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, I think I had some troops to put in that counter rally. I sort of wish I had done that. Whatever is what it is. I mean, I probably could have taken the infantry, 1 march full infantry, dropped it in that counter rally. That would have not been a bad choice. In this moment, I think we actually, as a kingdom, did a not great job of having multiple counter rallies running. Like, we could have had more counter rallies from other places, and we didn't. But we were busy. I mean, this was hectic, man. This is just one of, like, 3 fronts that are probably equally active to what you see here, if not more active. When we were fighting, this was in Zone 5, by the way. And this is when all of the kingdoms were together, almost every kingdom anyways, in Zone 5. I mean, it was like a Kingsland fight in Zone 5. So now I'm down to 68 million power, technically 67. I mean, I've only got like 50k infantry free to stuff in this flag. I've been putting full marches of cavalry in. I've been putting full marches of archers in. I do have the longbowman unit, so getting that special unit in there technically has slightly more base stats. I mean, we're only talking like 13. So I think it's like 13. I don't know. Maybe it's more like 20-something base stats, which is not that much. But yeah, it's, a couple iconics worth of base stats, whatever. And it's really kind of remarkable. I mean, I overtrained on archers specifically for the Amani Art Garrison back when that was just released into the game. And I still haven't found a situation where I can actually use archers in an archer garrison to kill them all off again. So with that said, I'm going to leave this KvK with still a bunch of archers on this account and still some cavalry left on this account. I kill more troops kind of later on, but I really can't wait for being able to spam fill an archer garrison once again, which probably will show up in game. I mean, I would guess like 5 or 6 months from now. So I got some time before I'll actually be able to do that. We're getting toward the end of this fight, by the way. Spoiler alert. I'm down to 67 million power at this point. Remember, I started at 73, 74 or so. The double rally is still running. It's getting a little hectic. I'm really feeling the lack of now siege, the lack of infantry. I'm putting, I think at this point, yeah, full march of archers goes in there. Not ideal for a Xeno garrison, but is what it is. We just got to get troops in there. This is getting low. I made the mistake of having all 5 marches in there. Those marches are getting low. I got to take some out. Ideally, by the way, you don't take all the marches out at once, because then you chunk your garrison's health down, or remaining troops, by a whole heck of a lot. We're going to get to the report in just a minute here, but Rayonara is now captain of this garrison. As I said, we're like kind of swapping the captains around very regularly, actually, to keep them healthy. The concern there is that because it's more than just a single rally, even with a Xeno, you have to be kind of worried. Here's the swarm, by the way. This is where it gets really bad. I don't know why they waited this long to swarm us. They should have done this way sooner, in my opinion. But now it's hectic. Now it's hectic. The full swarm, look at that. The garrison's really low. This is a point where I should have, yeah. But we catch on. Like, people filled it back up. It got back. But, yeah, I mean, I got, look at that. Like, that garrison is dead. Especially at 2x speed. This looks really, really bad. Fate changer. There it is. Garrison popped. I checked the garrison because I was stuffing more troops in. I pulled them back out of there. Okay, now let's look at this report, okay? The report at the tail end of this. I'm at 65.7 million power, by the way. I think I'm going to get some of that back from healing my troops, so whatever. The report. This is when I jumped out of the flag because it was getting swarmed after the captain died. 6.5 million to 6.2 million on the first rally, 4.1 to 3.5 or so on the second is pretty damn good. And a bunch of AoE, by the way. If we look at that again, 54 million power loss to 54 million power loss is pretty good for us, because keep in mind, a bunch of that is hospital for us, and that's all dead troops for them. So that's a winning trade in my eyes. And then 34 to 27 million. This one's a little bit more even. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, throw a like on here, consider subscribing to the channel. If you're looking for more information about farm accounts in general, I'll have a card over here about how to build a really great farm. It's an old video, but obviously you can see my farm has now become really, really powerful. And then I'll have another card right over here in the end credits with the Kingsland action, because man, it was freaking spicy.